gotta have the water.
Hey, what's up? This is Matt with Let's Talk Music. I'm here with Vincent Torres of Awake at Last. How are we doing this evening, sir?
I am doing well, man. I hope you are doing well as also.
I am. Always well when I get to talk to, musicians.
Heck yeah.
So you guys are out of Delaware.
We are. Yeah, it's my guitar player Eric and I who started the band are from Delaware. Although these days we do have members. So we got some members in New York and we have some members in North Carolina as well. But or one member in North Carolina, I should say. But yeah, technically we started in Delaware.
Awesome. So let's talk about that. You guys formed in 2011, you and Eric.
Yes,
And,
sir.
how did you guys meet, or did you know each other already? And, how did Tyler and Brian become part of the mix?
Okay, so Tyler and Brian are older members. They aren't currently with us, but the long story made short was Eric and I were put in touch with each other while we were both still in high school, but he did go to a different high school than me. So we were like little mall rat kids. And we would we would meet up every weekend, we would go jam, and we had a mutual friend's girlfriend actually got us in touch at the time, and she was just like, "Oh, you should meet my friend Eric. He's a guitarist, you're a guitarist, you guys should play together." And we got together, we totally hit it off. And then we eventually like worked on music and made original music, and then we performed at like my school's high school talent show, like classic, like nerds, and we ended up like winning the little talent show. So it was just like that was, I guess, the moment where we were just like, all right, yeah, let's do this. And then we went through a lot of different changes after that, a bunch of different members. The main thing we did when we were building it was we just, the one thing about being from Delaware is it's within like 3 to 5 hours of a lot of other places, So like once we were like old enough and savvy enough to like start doing shows, we would just start booking out weekends, and then we would just like, if we thought we did good with the scene, with certain scenes, we'd like keep them in mind, and then we'd do like a 10-day run where we'd put them all together, So we really kind of like built it up old school style by just hitting the road all the time and just performing shows as much as we could. Brian and Tyler came into it around that era when we like were first starting to like record music and get into it. And then Brian had some school stuff come up that he wanted to get more serious with, and eventually Tyler got like a really like a better, like not a better, but like a different kind of job that was a little more career-y for him. And he kind of went his separate ways. And I used to play guitar in the band, but then around 2016 or so, I would say that's when we got like really serious is shortly around when Imran came into the band, and they well, that's when we started doing way more shows, and that's when I switched off the guitar and just started doing the vocals, and then kind of just took off from there. 2016, we got like our first like YouTube video out there that started to pick up some steam. And it's definitely been a journey. Thinking back, it's kind of wild that it's 2022 now, and we've been doing this for 11 years. Eric and I, at least, because as the founding members. But we've had guys come and go, but it's always been like friendship and like good vibes. We always hit the road, man. We did it old school.
Yeah, I mean, I see that's one of the things that, I love hearing is how everything come about. Some guys are like, oh, we just grew up together and whatever. But when you got a nice backstory to, like that always
Right.
helps out. So like you guys released The Change, which was your first full length album.
Yes.
And, that actually had some pretty good reception to it.
Yeah, the change did really well. And that was, I think, like our first real taste of like potentially pursuing it like real like as a career, you know what I mean? And we had a great team, and we did a really fun tour with like Ice Nine Kills and Light Torch and Fit for a King. And it was like, man, it was just wild how that kind of exploded. It's all, Octane gave us some love, so we got a lot of like Octane going on. That's where I think we like kind of got our foot in the door was with the change. You know what I mean?
Right.
Which I like, because I feel like when the change came out, there weren't a lot of concept albums floating around. So I was proud that we had like a concept album kind of like out doing its thing in the in the music scene and stuff like that.
So you guys had a song on there called was it The Change? This Means War is on?
This Means War is actually that took place after the change. That was a single that we released shortly. I want to say in 2020. That's because that's the one we did with Rick to Jesus from Adelita's Way. And
Right.
that was all right. So I mean, we can address the elephant in the room, right? The pandemic like really like kicked us in the face. So the best we could try and do when we like lost live music and lost being able to like go to the shows and connect with our fans and stuff like that, it was like devastating. But we figured we could still like work together remotely and like get songs out there. So like
Hmm.
that's where songs like This Means War, Unfinished Business comes like directly from that era, where it was like we were, I was trying to just like scream out into the world because I was just so bummed that live music got affected as bad as it did. That was like a mini apocalypse that happened for a little while there. I
It
think
was.
everybody felt it, man. It was wild.
Yeah, that's why I was, checking on that because, yeah, I did an interview with Rick, really cool guy.
Oh
Uh,
yeah, Rick's great.
love Adelita's Way. They, great live band, great band with the fans. I mean, they're just all around a group of good guys.
Oh yeah, no, I love those guys to death. We saw them at Blue Ridge Rock Festival. We played with the Blue Ridge Rock Festival and I got a chance to see him live. Rick's got his hair growing out long now. I'm like, oh, all right. He's looking like Aragorn from Lord of the Rings. I was like, all
Right.
right, pal, I see you. I see you doing your thing.
So let's talk about the new single, Save My Soul. Uh,
Yeah, I'm excited about Save My Soul, man. That one, it's gotten a little bit more love than even I like anticipated it would, which I'm really excited about. Um, it it's when we released it, we announced the album, and we're kind of like this is the first glimpse at like what we're trying to do with the album, because it's been a long time coming that we've been working on this record. It's taken us years to getting through the pandemic and stuff like that. And and it is another like concept of sorts. There's like a story that's being told here, and I like that Save My Soul ended up being a single we could kind of introduce it with, because Save My Soul kind of takes place at like a crucial point in the story, like almost towards the end. So we're almost starting kind of in the middle before I like even get into the beginning and like moving up to it and stuff. And it's got there's a little bit of that spiritual vibe going on. We've always kind of been about like spirituality, positivity, kind of like searching for the light in the darkness kind of jam. And Save My Soul is kind of a call for help in a sense, because when I wrote it, I was having trouble like seeing those positive lights and those positive things that we used to like go for. So it talks a lot about, how I thought I had it all figured out. And then, like the world hit the reset button, and everything that I thought I had been like building up to was kind of, it was like just changed completely. So, and Save My Soul also kind of reaches out to the listener a little bit, because there's a line that says, maybe you're the one to save me. Maybe you're the one to save me from the dark, because I've always been about mental health awareness and stuff like that. I struggle with depression and anxiety really bad my whole life. My mom suffers from it. It's been like a constant in my life. And Save My Soul was one of those times where it got real dark, when I didn't know what was even going to happen anymore. Where I just felt like I was just falling and sinking, and I was like, there's nothing to even reach for anymore. Like I almost wanted to give up. But the people who continue to support us even through those times, because we kind of like we didn't get we're getting more into it now, but during the pandemic there was a lot of like TikTok and a lot more online stuff. But since we were all spread out, it was really hard for us to get together because there was like different laws and different restrictions. So we
right.
didn't even get a chance to like do any streaming concerts or do any, we tried to do like little videos and just put out music. But so Save Myself comes from that era and comes from a time where I like really thought I was just gonna be, that I was done with it, and then, you know, kind of talks a little bit about how I needed someone to pull me away from it, because, I need this, I need music, I need our fans, our beautiful fans. And, it was just, it kind of comes from that place. So it's a little darker. It's a little more singer-songwritery. I've always told stories, but a lot of these songs on this upcoming record, the balance, do feel a lot like they're coming more from a deeper place in me, think their experiences that I'm not hiding behind characters and little storylines anymore. Like I'm just kind of talking to the people now. You know what I mean? I'm like talking to the listener in the music
Right.
or trying to communicate it.
Yeah, I mean, I I caught on to the the gist of the song. When I was listening to it, I listened to what was it, Bloodline. Oh my lord, what was it? Dead Generation. I mean, I listened to about 5 or 6 songs before I actually checked out your newest one, and I like how you guys change it up.
Mm,
You're not you're not a constant sound. You know what I mean? Like you can tell the differences that you guys put into your music. And I like the fact that you do concept albums, especially with the storytelling, because
mm,
one of my favorite albums of all time was Operation Mindcrime by Queensryche,
mm.
which
Oh
was,
yeah,
you
going
know,
old school with it. Hell
yeah,
yeah.
and they tell a story in that one, and it was really cool, I think, because at such a young age, I realized that, and that's when I realized that, I really had a love and a respect for music and musicians, yeah, it's cool to meet, your heroes and stuff. I'm like, oh man, like I get your autograph and this and that. But it's more for me, I respect you guys as, people.
I appreciate that. Yeah, we try to change it up. I'm you I we try to stay consistent but also changing up at the same time, I guess. Like we always want to every song to me is sort of like visions. It's all imagery in my head. So like the way that a song flows or how, the way the BPMs are, there's imagery kind of happening there. So I like to have the scenes be different, but it all still feel like it's connected by a deeper core root of that because if you listen to even previous albums, the change, even before the change, we had an EP called Life Death Rebirth, and if you really dig into the archives, there's other songs that and there's recurring themes and recurring characters that I just kind of pepper in every once in a while just because they've been along for the journey. They're all kind of like aspects. So I appreciate that, man. We try to like change it up a little bit. I do miss guitar solos though. I wish there was more guitar solos and more modern rock. I feel like we don't get as many of those.
I mean, some of the bands that I do, they thrive on that.
Heck yeah.
It just, and I miss that too.
Mm,
I actually, one of my girls asked me, she says, what's a really good guitar song? And I started thinking, I was just like, man, I've got like 1,600 different songs on my phone. I'm sitting there thinking, I was like, I try this one. I handed it to her for Testament, Return to Serenity.
oh, okay. That's a
And I'm
vibe.
like, Alex Skolnick is just a phenomenal guitar player, Berkeley graduate. I'm like,
Oh yeah.
here you go. This guy,
That's all the shred, man.
right. I'm like, this guy can touch you with the guitar, but it's, I like songs that have meaning too. And that's, a lot of the stuff I grew up on was about, girls, sex, drugs,
Hmm.
all that.
Classic rock and roll.
Right, all that good stuff, and it's still my favorite era is the hair metal bands, but it's really, as I've gotten older, it's more fun for me to sit there and listen to a song and try to think of your headspace at the time of writing it.
Right.
Like, okay, because you can tell even when I read the press release, I was like, okay, yes, depression, anxiety. I have myself struggled with depression at times. It's not really a constant for me. I'm the same way. I really try to be positive and look at the
Hmm.
silver lining on everything. But
Always.
anxiety has been one of my issues. I have to take medication for it, and I hate taking medication. And it's like, um, you have this outlet.
Hmm.
God gave you a way to outlet your feelings through your music.
Hmm.
And for people that listen to your music, that is an outlet for them.
Right.
And that's what is amazing, that, with the talent that you guys have, is that you can touch people that you've never even met or seen. You
Right.
a person can listen to your song and think, man, I could connect with this dude, and I mean, that's what's great about the more thought into the songwriting and the more inspirational songs that, are out today versus, the girls back in the day.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I know what you mean. Yeah, as someone who definitely understands that struggle, like I know how that is. You're doing your interviews and you're like building up your platform as well. And I can understand that, like when because anxiety, man, it's like this little version of you that's like in the back of your mind that nothing you do is kind of good for them, right? So every creative idea or every like burst of inspiration, you try to put pen to paper, and then there's that version of you that's just like, nah, this ain't the move. This is nothing, this isn't gonna reach anyone. And it's been a journey for me even to get these songs out there and to like trust the songs, because I'm hard on them. You ask any of my producers, they're like, oh my God, man, can you just like, it's a great song. Like, stop questioning it, stop trying to change it. Like, it is going to connect the way we want it to connect, like stop, so I understand that, man. And I try to like paint the picture of it a little bit, but also like you say, it's an outlet for our listeners just as much as it's an outlet for me. And I find strength in that. There's times where I like won't do it, or I feel like I can't do it, and then a fan will just message me out of the blue, or just like little things that it'll be like they're the reason that I end up like pushing through that wall. Because if it's if I get too much time in that dark space in my mind, like I won't do anything. I'll just shut down. You know what I mean? So
Yeah. I mean, I
I
get,
try and like connect and like make things relatable so that they can have that outlet through my music as well. I try to like paint those demons in a way that they can kind of be, when you take them out of your mind and you give them form, it's easier to kind of wrangle them a little bit because they have so much unlimited power in our minds. You know what I
oh
mean?
yeah,
Like that, because they're so much stronger in your head. But if you just write it down, you can just look at the piece of paper and be like, I felt like this day. And it kind of like, music does that for me too. Like you can experience like a calm through a music. It's
right.
funny, as much as I like rock and stuff, I end up listening to like really slow, like meditation-y stuff all the time. It's kind of weird.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, when I was a teenager and stuff, it was more of like, Metallica and bands like that I would listen to whenever I was, stressed out or whatever. And it's funny because, it's thrash metal, but it was calming to me.
Right.
And then, of course, the hair metal bands, there were so many, just again, the guitar solos and, the vocalist and everything. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, it was a great era, I
That was
feel.
such an era for music, man.
Yes. And
I wish I could have been around for some of those shows. I was still a little pop back then.
oh man, I've seen some great ones, man. And it's the way that music has evolved. I mean, but it seems to always kind of go back to its roots. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's like now we've got metalcore,
Mm-hmm.
and metalcore is kind of touching back to, the old death metal bands. Like I heard one the other day and I'm like, oh my God, they sound just like, this band, and it music is so powerful in that way that like you can hear a song that you heard, 15 years ago or 20 years ago and remember that moment in your life. Like, oh my God, I remember this. I was, breaking out to the new dance in the gym, at the school dance or,
Oh
whatever.
yeah.
And I feel like, you know, one of my interviews the other night said I couldn't imagine a world without music.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I agree 100%. I mean, if we would have never had it, you wouldn't know what you're missing.
Right.
But, since we've had it since forever, it's like, man, that would just be hideous. And it's, just more and more and more bands coming out. I mean, my phone is going off all day long with press releases of new bands and stuff, or bands that have been around for a while that I've never even heard of, like you guys. I'd
Mm-hmm.
never heard of you, but once I did, I was like, shit, these guys are good.
I appreciate that, man. I appreciate you bringing me out to even just chat a little bit because I mean, we're getting a little more well known, but we're still very much in this kind of like infancy part of what we're doing. Like we keep grinding. We've always been grinding. We just keep getting out there. I feel like you can't fail at something you never give up on. So we just keep on
Very true.
cruising through, take all the hits as they come. Take the victories as they come. But I agree. Without music, I don't even know if I like would still be here. Like I really don't know, man. There were some bands that really saved my life back in the day, and
I I'm with you, dude.
yeah, and so and I there's a saying I always say that music is the last form of magic that's left in the world. Like you have like the old Irish or the old Norse and the old ancient tales like fairy tales about like
Mhm.
all that stuff. And I feel like those all come from some place. They all come from mythology, and they all have meaning and stuff. But when you think of magic or whatever, music is something that you can't necessarily see. I mean, I guess you can see the bars if you're in a studio, but you can't like see it or like touch it or whatever, but you
Right.
can feel it. It can take you back to those memories you were talking about. It can give you that like the hair stand up on the back of your neck, and you feel that like wave of like nostalgia,
Mhm.
or that wave of like hope, or that wave of like despair even. And that so it's the last form of magic that we got, man. It's the world's gotta have music, man. That's how we get through all the other BS that's going on in the world. The world
Very
is
true.
chaotic right now. Music helps. Music gets you through some of the craziness.
Yeah, and I mean that's like he was just talking about the hair standing up on your neck and
Hmm.
goosebumps. I mean, there's I can say wholeheartedly that there's very few things that do that to me besides music.
Right.
A song that I haven't heard in a long time can come on, or a song that I love that I just pop up on my phone, like "Don't Stop Believing" from Journey. It was a
Hmm.
song that my sister and I listened to, and she passed away, and she played it at her funeral. So it was like,
Hmm.
um, it's songs like that that like I just hear the first few notes, man, the goosebumps, and like you
Oh
said,
yeah. And
waves.
that is like one of those legendary songs too. You could be in an elevator or just walking through a convention somewhere, and you could start singing it, and like 10 to 15 to probably 20 to 30 people will start singing it with you just because
Oh yeah.
they'll just like it's just that's some of that legend juice, man. That's
Yeah,
a
they
that's a good
struck
one.
gold with that one.
Hmm. They
So,
probably still collecting checks off of that all these years later.
oh yeah, yeah. I mean, but it's. I think kind of. I feel like those days are kind of over, though. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Because with that, they had album sales, they had arena play. It was so much different in those times, and now album sales aren't a big thing anymore. And unfortunately, because I mean, that was like bands bread and butter back then was that and
Hmm.
touring. Now it's touring and merch,
Yep.
and it's
It's the show.
yeah,
It's all
and
about the show.
it's I mean it's taken kind of a turn for the worse, but also a turn for the good. I mean, because there are more DIY bands that are
Hmm.
getting out there, and it's easier for them to get out there now. I mean, granted, there's thousands and thousands of them that are trying to get out there.
Yeah, it's
Like,
definitely pretty saturated, but I think that it's a good thing that it's so much more accessible. Like you said, there's like the highs and lows of it, right? It's much more accessible to people, which is beautiful because even with the internet algorithms, because everything's algorithms now, right? It's like,
right.
oh, tap into the algorithm, make sure if you post this song and it gets used with this thing, it'll like put you in an algorithm. Like algorithms
Mhm.
find people who are into the same stuff that you're into and put you together, which is kind of cool, which is why a lot of these bands are able to sustain doing it without having the album sales and without having all that stuff. It's so
Exactly.
much easier to be independent, because now it's just like you just find those people that like really connect to you and connect to your music and to your message, and like they'll sign you. You know what I mean? Like boost you to a point where you can do it, so that is a good thing. But also, there's that bad side of it where there's so much now that it's so hard to like climb above the noise because there's so much noise, right? Like, like thousands of genres, thousands of everything. And these days with digital studios, you can make pretty good sounding stuff. You don't need to like have all the like studio booking time you used to have to get back in the day where you like spend months in there, like you spend a year at this building. You know what I mean? Like it's not really like that. You can turn stuff over fast now, which is cool and beautiful because you can find your people and you can put your messages out there, but it is like tough on the industry wise, or even to pursue it as a profession. I think is a different level than
Exactly.
than it used to be, and so and we've been feeling that. I mean, the pandemic, first of all, like you said, it's all touring and merch now, right? That's where you can like get stuff out there, and that's how you can sustain yourself. But when the pandemic hit, it was all recording. You know what most people did? You know how many people like bought guitars or sat down at home and learned how to record, including me, including my guitar player. What else were we gonna do? We were like, well, gotta make music. Like, let's figure it out, because we didn't have the shows,
Right.
and so it is like it's both a good thing and kind of, a tough thing too for artists,
Well,
But
and
I no, go ahead, go ahead.
that's another thing that I've discussed with other musicians is that, the pandemic was, I guess it's good that it happened in a year like 2020, because if this would have happened 20 years ago, I don't know if the music industry could have survived it.
It would have been pretty catastrophic for
Yeah, but
sure.
it
Like
seemed like,
I mean, in some ways, there was a lot of like shisty stuff going on back then. A lot of bands getting screwed over and stuff. So maybe in some way, I want to think that like some people might have gotten what was coming to them. But overall, though, to like crawl out of that wreckage would have been intense. Would have been a very different '90s era,
yeah,
or a very
because
different,
I mean, in the digital age, you guys were able to do that. You were able to write and
Mhm.
share tracks and everything. And
Right.
that wasn't really a possibility before. So,
That's true.
I
That is very
mean,
true.
technology's kind of been on your side and been against you and everything. It that can be like an all night deep conversation.
Oh yeah,
So
no, trust me. Well, if you get a chance, or if you ever return to our music, there's a song I wrote called Living Fiction, and I wrote that when I was first like coming out of the pandemic and stuff like that, when I was realizing like how many, because a lot of people did take advantage of it. They got online, and then they create these versions of themselves online, though. You know what I mean? Like I feel
mhm.
like very few people online are like truly honest. There's a lot of look how happy I am, or look at what I did, or this and that, you know what I mean? And like you don't, that's, you can choose to put that out there and have people see exactly what you want them to see, you know what I
Right.
mean? So technology is wild right now, but I think that the biggest advice you can give to artists, or even anybody who's like trying to do like what you're doing, what I'm doing, it's to use that technology to like find your people, you know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
even if you're like a weird wacky band that's got crazy instruments that like shouldn't go together but do, there's a market for it somewhere. And if you like use the tools just a little bit, your algorithm will eventually find some wacky dudes out there who love that stuff, you know what I mean? Like it can
Yeah.
happen. So it's beautiful, and it's become this big like collective of like what we're all kind of doing, and everyone's got a voice now. But but it is also, it can be very noisy, you know what I mean? Like I feel like I
Mhm.
still listen to bands I listened to like 10, 15 years ago. You know what I mean? Like I feel like my music tastes haven't changed that much. You know what I mean? Like I'm always listening to like older records for the most part, or even,
Right.
or like I said, if I'm even listening to records, usually I'm listening to like classical music, or like some weird, like I love a lot of like lo-fi chill hop music. Like that's the stuff I listen to when I'm like cooking at the house and stuff. I don't really even, I guess because I do rock and roll, I'm not like, I don't listen to as much rock and roll as I used to, And I
Right.
still come from like that emo era a little bit too. Like I'm still from that like early 2000s. Everyone went to shows because shows were happening era, man. I freaking
Mhm.
miss those good old days.
So here in December, you're getting to do a little leg with saliva and 7 day slumber.
Yeah, I'm excited about that. Yeah, I did a similar thing that you just did, seventh day slumber. So I like did a video the other day and I was trying to do like, oh hey, I'm promoting this, we're gonna be out this weekend with 7 day slumber, and I like totally jazzed it up. I was like, oh
Yeah,
no.
tongue twister.
Yeah, but yeah, no, I'm excited. And Slab was pretty iconic. Like I remember when like, click click boom like was like popping off,
Oh
and like
yeah.
that was like the jam, and even the newest song they just put out, I forget what it's called.
High on me.
Yes. That one actually sounds really good. I feel like everyone, whenever I say like, oh yeah, we're doing a run with Slab, they're like, oh, click click boom, and I'm like, yeah, but like there's this other song too, and then I just did the same thing. I can't, because click click boom's just so iconic, bro. Like who didn't hear that back when that
Right.
first came out? And I
Yeah, I've
remember
done.
they did the song with Spider-Man too, the old Spider-Man with Tobey Maguire. Wasn't he in the
Oh
didn't
well,
he do that song with Nickelback and them? Wasn't he like a feature vocalist on that or something like
yes,
that?
yes, but Josie's not the singer anymore.
Oh, okay. So it's a different guy from that.
Yeah, Josie was the original singer, and yeah, him and Chad Kroger did that. Oh, I can't remember the name of the song. Like, oh, if everyone cared.
Oh, okay, okay, okay.
But the new singer Bobby, cool cat. I did a Zoom interview and a live interview with him when they were in town.
Nice.
Wayne, the guitar player, he's one of the original guys. Awesome band, man. They're great guys.
Yeah, I was gonna say because that new song really does sound good. What's it called again?
High on me, I believe.
High on Me. Okay, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
because
have.
I did a little bit of listening because I was like, well, if we're gonna go out with these guys, I want to like get a more of a vibe. So I guess I didn't even realize that the singer changed. I guess he's doing a really good job. Then he kind of had me a little. I was like, oh snap.
Yeah, they changed the. I've man, Josie's been through some hell. So I mean, I don't
Yeah.
know if that was the reason that the band, kind of split ways, but you know, like I said, Bobby's filled his shoes well. He's full of energy, great
Hmm.
singer, really cool cat.
I can't wait to actually get a chance to meet them, and hopefully we'll get a chance to hang out with them a little bit. I always hope when we go on a run that like, we've been on runs where like the higher band like doesn't really like chat with us that much, or like we'll be like, yo,
Yeah.
let's go to like a campground and like play volleyball or something. And they're not always like down to hang. So I'm looking forward to it. And I'm just looking forward to getting back to shows too. And I know Seventh Day Slumber does some really cool music. I've only been able to just barely scratch the surface with them too. But I'll do more of a deep dive when we get closer, to seeing it and stuff like that. I want to be in the right headspace for it. But I'm excited. I think it's gonna be a fun show. It's gonna be cold. Like I'm not always stoked about touring in the winter, but hopefully the weather won't be too bad in the areas we're going. It will be December though, so we'll see.
All right, brother. Well, we are out of time.
All good, my man.
I appreciate you being on. Really enjoyed the chat. Best of luck with the guys out there in that cold December weather.
Yeah, we're gonna give it our best shot. Where are you located, by the way?
I'm in Columbus, Ohio.
Oh, okay, okay, Ohio. We come over to Columbus every once in a while, so keep an eye out. I don't know. I don't think we're doing it on this run, but we do hit Columbus quite a bit. So hopefully next time we come out, you can come out, hang out. We could do a little mini like at the show interview or something, just kind of catch up and just be good to see you, brother.
All right.
All
Well,
right, my
Vincent,
man.
you have a good evening,
I
and
appreciate you so much.
I appreciate you, buddy.
All right, man. Good luck with everything. And
Thank
have a great holiday. All your
you.
listeners too. Have a wonderful holiday, guys. Love your family. Eat all that food. It's gonna be delicious.
Later, man.
All right, my man. Be safe.